up, fam? What is up? If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on Twitter, I don't care. Just thank you for watching. And I'm so excited because every year I decide to put on my own movie awards. I feel like we don't have enough award ceremonies going on, right? It's not like there's the Oscars, SAGs, DGA, Golden Globes. None of that stuff's happening in the same week, of course. So why don't I get involved? And I do something affectionately called the Golden Peas. It's an awards to honor movies from the previous year. You know, on my podcast, I do my top 10 movies of the year, which will be coming up this upcoming week, by the way, with some special guests. But what I do is I poll film Twitter and I poll movie critics that I have come to know over the last several years. I poll my listeners of the podcast, my followers on YouTube, and I say, okay, guys, what were your favorite movies of the year? What were your favorite performances of the year? I break it down into categories, and those preliminary ballots get sent out usually like in October, early November, and I start collecting those preliminary ballots through the end of the year. This year, we got over 200 preliminary ballots back from folks predominantly on Twitter that I have met over the years, like I said, and followers of my podcast. And with those 200 plus preliminary ballots, we came up with what you're going to see tonight, which are the nominees in these categories: Best Animated Film, Best Action Film, Best Comedy Film, Best Horror Film, perhaps a category that might be close to my heart, Best Male Performance, Best Female Performance, and of course, the Best Movie of the Year. Now, this show was started back in 2016. Me and my partner at the time, Andy, we did the Golden Peas, kind of like a play on words to be funny, you know, because it could be seen that way. And we just kind of gave our personal picks. And that was the way it happened for the first couple years. And then I said, okay. And I started getting my patrons involved. And it was a podcast / print thing for a few years. This is the very, very first year we're doing it on YouTube. I've really been trying to increase my YouTube presence as of late. So I said, you know what, let's make it visual this year. I got some fun video edits and I'm going to be releasing after the broadcast tonight that you guys can see the nominees leading up to the awards ceremony, which, by the way, will be on March 13th. You'll be able to hear the winners, and it's going to be voted on by you. You guys will be casting the ballot. I'll share all that information with you tonight. But tonight, the goal is to let everyone know what you guys chose as your nominees in the 7 categories I mentioned. Now, there will probably be a lot of viewer comments tonight, a lot of reactions to the nominees. I'm going to get to the viewer comments at the end. I do have 2 special presenters that I'm going to be bringing in here in just a second, and they're going to be giving you the nominees tonight. And then at the end, when they're done, the 3 of us will have a discussion and we will react to them. And I will also check the comments and bring you guys into the discussion as well. If you have any questions pertinent to the nominees, like who missed, who was snubbed, there probably will be some snubs. What were some surprises? What are some thrilling things that you're so glad got mentioned, actors or actresses or movies that got mentioned? We'll talk about all that. First, I want to do, as we get closer to announcing these nominees, I want to bring in my special guest. Now, these guys were so gracious to come in here and do this because I'm going to step aside and let them kind of take the lead here. First, I'm going to bring in, let's get her on to the live stream here. There she is. Nicole Ackman is here from Oscar Central. She's been around though for a while. I've known her on Twitter. We've been friends on social media. And then we found out in this last year that we actually live like 20 minutes from each other, which is crazy.
Yeah.
We're local to each other, didn't even know it. But she also writes for Awards Watch, and she is very, very heavy into awards season. Nicole, thank you so much for being here. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to get to be a part of this, especially, with awards season going on. I've been listening to so many people announce nominations, so
Yeah.
I'm excited to try my own hand at it.
Yeah. Like I said, I had to get in the mix. I feel like there's not enough award shows right now. So
Exactly.
I had to help, So thank you so much for being here. It means a lot to me. And I'll let you talk a little bit about your programs and the stuff that you're doing at the end too, so people know where to find you. You were just a recent guest on my show.
Yes, I was.
You just came on and we did our top 5 movie sidekicks, which was a blast. That episode will be on my podcast feed on the 30th, I believe. So that's coming up in a couple weeks. So thank you so much for doing that with me. And then this guy, let me get him in here too. JD from In Session Film. This, JD, this is not going to run 4 hours tonight. I'll get you out of here.
I know people see me, and if they associate me with In Session Film, they immediately get worried. Yeah.
They're like, wait a second.
This won't be 4 hours. Yeah, I promise.
JD, all joking aside, man, it means so much that, it's so funny. I was telling you before we started the feed that I feel like, we know each other so well.
Yeah.
But I've never been on In Session. You've never been on 2Ps. It's crazy. So your compadres have been over on my show a lot, but we need to get you over there for a top 5 list. But thanks so much for being here, man. It means a lot to me.
Yeah, we will absolutely remedy that going into 2023. But yeah, thanks for having me. This is going to be a lot of fun. Very honored to be here. I really appreciate the invite.
Absolutely, man. And Nicole, you as well. Thank you so much. So I'm going to step aside briefly because we have 7 categories that these guys are going to give you the nominations on. I made little slides for each one, so you guys will see that. If you are taking notes, great. If you're not, don't worry about it, because at the end, when we have our discussion and our kind of panel discussion at the very end in a few minutes, I'm going to have slides with a summary of all the nominees for each category. So you guys will be able to see that, anybody that's watching at home. So don't worry about missing one or whatever. So Nicole is going to get us started. I'm going to turn off my camera. And Nicole, when the slideshow pops up, you do your thing, okay? And thank you guys again so much. Guys, here are the nominees in the 7 categories this year for the Golden Peas Movie Awards. And thank you both so much.
Thank you. All right, first up, I will be announcing the nominees in the category of Best Animated Movie. And the nominees are Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, Minions, The Rise of Gru, Turning Red, and Wendell and Wild.
All right, next we will be looking at the nominees in the category of Best Comedy Movie. And the nominees are Bros, Cha-Cha Real Smooth, Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery, Triangle of Sadness, and finally, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Next up, I will be announcing the nominees in the category of Best Action Movie. And the nominees are The Batman, The Northman, Prey, RRR, and Top Gun Maverick.
All right, next up, I will be announcing the nominees in the category of Best Horror Movie. And the nominees are Barbarian, Scream, Smile, Terrifier 2, and X.
Okay, so now let's recognize some of the best acting performances of the year. First up, I will be announcing the nominees in the category of Best Female Performance. And the nominees are Amber Midthunder for Prey, Cate Blanchett for Tar, Claire Foy for Women Talking, Mia Goth for Pearl, and Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Okay, next up, I will be announcing the nominees in the category of Best Male Performance. And the nominees are Austin Butler for Elvis, Ke Huy Quan for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin. Daniel Kaluuya for Nope. And finally, Tom Cruise for Top Gun Maverick.
I love the way you said Tom Cruise there.
Thank you.
And finally, JD and I will partner in announcing the 10 nominees in the category of Best Movie of the Year. And the nominees are The Batman, directed by Matt Reeves.
Elvis, directed by Baz Luhrmann.
Everything Everywhere All at Once, directed by Daniel Scheinert and Daniel Kwan.
The Menu, directed by Mark Mylod.
Nope, directed by Jordan Peele.
Prey, directed by Dan Trachtenberg.
RRR, directed by S.S. Rajamouli.
Tar, directed by Todd Field.
Top Gun Maverick, directed by Joseph Kosinski.
And X, directed by Ty West.
All right, guys, I'm going to come back in here. Thank you both so much. There's the nominees for the 6th annual Golden Peas Movie Awards. I'm going to change the overlay here too so my face is not hidden. Some people might like that, but I feel like I should be on camera, guys.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to have a discussion kind of about the nominees. Like I said, I have slides to share, and I know you two have the list in front of you. Here's what got nominated for Best Movie. So I guess we can start there. I talked a little bit about it at the intro or in the intro, but I polled the Twitter critical community, friends of mine that I know personally, listeners of my podcast, followers of my YouTube channel, and so on. I got about 210 responses. And these are the top 10. I just said, okay, as long as it was released in 2022, it's eligible. These are the 10 movies that got the most votes, if you will, in the outset. And then we'll be opening up the ballot to see what is ultimately the number one winner. So, Nicole, I'll start with you. What do you think here? Is there any big surprises in this 10, do you think, knowing that this is Film Twitter?
Yeah, I think, there's a few surprises here. I'm always so excited whenever I see a Best Movie lineup that has an international film in it. So I love to see that RRR got in here. I love to see that X got in. That's really fun. I love to see that, even though a lot of the big awards have such a strong genre bias, that the people who are voting on this don't. And I was very excited before we started recording. I was talking to you about to see Prey, placing here and in other places, because that was
Huge numbers.
Such a fun movie and such an interesting, take on a franchise film, and really happy to see that some people remembered it. But I think this is a really interesting, very varied lineup, which is so fun whenever you have those 10 slots to get a lot of different types of films in.
Yeah, surprise for me was The Menu, I think. I was kind of like, what? I do love that movie, but I don't know, it just surprised me. JD, what about you, man? Looking at this 10, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I echo a lot of what Nicole is saying there. I love that this is an eclectic mix. You have something like Top Gun Maverick, X, and Nope, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and then you have, something like Tar also falling in there, RRR. I mean, there's such a variety of movies here. It is fun to see Prey make it into the 10 here. And The Menu, I especially loved. That is one of my favorite surprises of the year.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the marketing for the film or however I came up with the expectations I had for it, but the film ended up being a little bit different than I expected. And it was a riot. It was such a fun movie with one of the best endings of the year. I mean, that final sequence is just pure gold. So Yeah, I love
Any
that made it here too.
Yeah, for sure. Any like I hate using the word snub because it's kind of cliche, but one thing that kind of like I mean I'm not gonna say disappointed because I mean we're just having fun here. But I would
Yeah.
have loved to have seen some women directors here. You know, Women Talking is missing.
Hmm.
Sarah Pauly, After Sun is missing.
Hmm.
They did get some mentions. They just didn't make it to the top 10. Any other like kind of like, wow, I can't believe it's missing that you guys see that's not here?
I would have loved to have seen The Woman King get in here.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Another great female-directed film and another great, big action piece.
Hmm.
I'm honestly kind of surprised at the voting body that The Fabelmans didn't make it in.
I
I
was
know it
Um,
gonna
did
say
get
that
some
I'm
too.
mentions.
not
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
complaining about that.
me
I'm
neither.
just surprised.
It was
Um,
like it was like 12 or 13. It got quite a few mentions, but
okay,
it didn't quite
okay.
make the 10.
I feel like the only other thing that I'm not surprised or that I'm surprised isn't here is, something like Banshees of Inisherin that is such a
Hmm.
big like Oscar
Mhm.
contender that I feel like everyone's talking about.
Mhm.
Because
I
I
think
feel like
when I think when the ballot because I released a preliminary ballot, like I said, in October, and I don't know if
mhm,
some of those movies like weren't seen when they submitted, and
yeah,
then they didn't go back
Mhm.
and submit another ballot, maybe
yeah,
because
that could be it.
there are some missing that are somewhat perplexing. Like Avatar's not here, obviously, but that came out
Mhm.
super late.
Mhm.
So I don't know if the release schedule for the general audiences may have had a little bit to do with it too. If you
Yeah.
guys are cool with it, I want to scroll through some of the comments
Yeah.
and see what some of the folks over there are saying. So my buddy Nick says Top Gun
Mhm.
Maverick for the win. Are we calling winners on this, JD, Nicole? Do you guys see a winner, like a clear cut winner out of this 10, you think?
Mm.
Hmm.
That it's tough to say, not knowing everyone who's going to vote, but
Yeah.
I mean,
I could see Everything Everywhere All at Once taking it.
yeah,
I feel
that's
like
where
that's
I was gonna go. Yeah.
quite popular with the film Twitter crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's I made a
Or
comment about that when I did my Oscars predictions video a few days ago, but I think that's the 2022 movie. Like if there was one
Mhm.
movie to represent the year in film, I feel like it's Everything Everywhere All at Once. Would you guys say that's
Mhm.
fair?
Yeah, I'd say that's
Yeah.
very fair. Yeah.
Let's see. Our buddy Dan says RRR has his heart, so that's his winner. I
Mm.
was glad to see that get in. That gained some momentum at the end of the
Yeah.
kind of voting because in the beginning, nobody it was getting in for best action, which it did make it in for that,
Mm.
but
Yeah.
nobody was really mentioning it for their best movie until kind of like December. So I
Mm.
was excited to see that get in there. That's kind of a darling this season. You guys are a
Yeah.
fan of that one, right?
Oh, yeah. Love that
Yeah.
movie. Yeah.
I'm not as high on it as like some people are, but I do think it's a really fun movie and I love seeing something a bit different in the mix.
Yeah.
One Facebook user says, "Wow, the best female group is an outstanding group." I don't know who that was. If you're in the Facebook group, make sure you give StreamYard permissions. There should be a link in the description of the post, and you can do that so I can see who I'm chatting with there. But I
Mhm.
agree. Let's actually skip down to best female to go
Mhm.
along with what he or she was saying there. So here's what we have, guys. Amber Mid Thunder, who, by the way, like Nicole said, we were talking about this pre-stream, got a ton of mentions, which knowing that it's 75-80% film Twitter was kind of surprising to me.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Prey, and spoiler alert, it's in my top 5 movies of the year. Yeah, it's one of my favorite films I saw this year, and it never left my top 5 after I saw it initially. I know
Mhm.
it's a Hulu film. I know it's a quote unquote TV movie, however you want to phrase that, but just such a good movie experience. It was
Mhm.
a flawless kind of sci-fi action film. And then having the nostalgia of the Predator series to latch onto made it great too.
Mhm.
Michelle Yeoh is kind of a no-brainer. Mia Goth is my personal. I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
happy she made it in. Kate Blanchett, and then I think Claire Foy might be a bit of a surprise for some people too, from Women Talking. But I'm glad that movie's getting some
Mhm.
love here. What do you guys
Yeah.
think of this 5, Nicole? What do you think?
Yeah, I was really excited to see that Claire Foy made it in here because obviously, whenever you're doing best female performance, a lot of the time it's going to skew towards lead female performances. And I know that they've
Mhm.
sort of ruled all the women of Women Talking supporting because it is such an ensemble piece. So
Mhm.
I was really excited to see her land here. I think that Amber being here is amazing
Hmm.
because she does give such a great performance. And I haven't even seen X or Pearl yet, but I've seen some of Mia Goth's other work and I am obsessed with her. I think she's so cool
Yeah.
and so talented. And I love any time that, a voting body can beat the genre bias.
Right.
You know, because we've seen in the past people hope that the Oscars and Golden Globes or things are gonna
Yeah, I
actually
know.
do that, and then they don't.
Well, if they
So
didn't if
Mhm.
they didn't give it to Toni Collette for Hereditary, I mean, nobody's gonna get it.
exactly, or
Yeah.
Lupita
You know?
Nyong'o for
Yeah.
Us. You know,
Us,
so
yeah,
I
Yeah.
sure.
it's so nice to see Mia
Unfortunate.
Goth getting some you know, recognition in other places.
Mhm.
Yeah, one Facebook user says Mia for the win. Dan
Yeah.
Roski, top tier patron of my show, says Michelle Yo. So it must be his pick.
Yeah.
JD, what do you think of this group, man?
I love this group. 3 of these 5 are my personal 5 for Best Actress of the Year as well. And you know, it's interesting because when it comes to conventional awards talk, it's all about Kate Blanchett and Michelle Yeoh, and understandably so. They give powerhouse performances. Michelle Yeoh gives the best performance of the year for me. But I could very much see Mia Goth winning this.
Hmm.
Film Twitter, especially,
Okay.
is head over heels in love with that performance, and for good reason. That is
Yeah.
another nominee for me in my personal Best Actress category. And I mean, it's hard to deny that performance. And it's not just the monologue at the end of the film that people talk about, and that is
Hmm.
excellent. But everything she does in that film is quite phenomenal. So it's a
Hmm.
very deserving performance. It's one that conventional awards bodies should consider, but they
Right.
won't. And not just because it's a genre film, but so much of that film, she's giving this quiet, internalized performance, and that's not always their cup of tea.
Hmm.
So I
Which is
mean,
such a layer. I mean, she's so layered in that
it's so
movie. Like
good. It
she
really is
really
great.
like, has this gradual kind of like
Mm,
ascent into, a psychopathic killer, for lack of a better way to
Hmm.
put it. But it was such a
mhm,
gradual, kind of quiet,
mhm.
you know, to get there. And it was
Yeah,
it was my best performance of the year across any
yeah.
gender, any movie, any genre.
And
I also
I
feel
don't blame
Was
like
you.
Mia Goth and
Yeah,
Pearl.
I
for
feel
sure.
like kind of like how you were saying that Everything Everywhere All at Once is like the film of 2022. I feel like Mia Goth's performance in that movie is something that even if you've not seen the movie, you've probably seen clips of her performance.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
You know,
Sure.
the I'm a star bit, I feel like everyone has seen or at least
Yeah,
heard
sure.
on TikTok or something.
Mhm.
So
Hmm.
Yeah.
it's nice to see something that's been, you know, so infiltrated the culture get recognized.
Mhm.
Yeah, you've
Yeah.
made it when you type in Mia Goth in Twitter and you get like 50 gifts right
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From Pearl,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
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 One Facebook user says, "Where is Angela Bassett?" Now she's been coming up hot late, so I wonder if maybe that
Mhm.
was a late bloom in terms of my
Yeah.
ballots here. But what do you guys think? Do
She's
you think Angela Bassett kind of belongs here?
she's on her way to collect her Oscar. It's
Yeah,
fine.
she's getting an Oscar. She doesn't
Yeah,
need the
Um,
Golden Bee.
exactly.
I
Yeah.
I
She'll be
really feel
okay,
like
yeah.
this is a case of it's such a supporting performance,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
a great performance. I think she's amazing, but I feel like whenever you're trying to narrow down to just 5, it makes sense that you're thinking more about lead performances.
Yeah.
Going back to best movie, one Facebook user says, "Where's the MCU?" Black Panther: Wakanda Forever was 11. It was the 11th
Mm,
most
Mm.
to receive
Okay.
votes.
Mm.
Aside from Black Panther, though, there wasn't a ton of love on the ballots for the MCU. What do you guys think about what they did this year?
I don't know if
Anything
it was
besides Angela Bassett? I mean,
Yeah, I don't know if it was a particularly strong year for the MCU, but Black Panther: Wakanda Forever I did like, and
hmm,
Angela Bassett is the best thing about that movie, I think.
mhm.
You know, I think they did a good job of honoring Chadwick in the film.
I do too.
And ultimately the pathos that the film carries as a result is always lingering. I think at times the film kind of loses itself a little bit, but on the whole, I do like the duality at the core of it and what it's going for. So yeah, it was easily Marvel's best work in 2023.
Yeah. I think that aside from Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, the MCU had much better TV work this year than it did films.
Yeah.
I was not I was not a huge fan of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness at all.
Mm.
By
Fair.
which I mean I hated it.
Oh boy.
And I
So what
actually
are you trying to
liked
say?
yeah, sorry. I'm like, let me just say it. Um But I actually did like Thor: Love and Thunder, but I think it was kind of too similar to Thor: Ragnarok to like really get that much attention. And it kind of just got swept under the rug, I think. Uh, but you know, I feel like the MCU deserves to get to have an off year. And
Sure.
last year I think it was
Yeah.
so great. And I also think this year it's the fact that the MCU is up against things like Top Gun Maverick and The Batman and Avatar: The Way of Water and
Yeah.
all these like, you know, big franchise films that felt much more like event movies.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
I don't
Sure.
think that other than maybe Black Panther: Wakanda Forever in the MCU had anything this year that felt like an event movie.
Yeah.
Well, we'll
I
switch
agree.
over. That's a segue. We'll switch over to best action real quick. Talk about these a little bit. Now, what's interesting about this category for me is that 3 of the movies here, or I'm sorry, 4 of these 5 made into Best Picture as well. The Batman, Top Gun, Prey, and RRR. The only one missing from the Best Movie lineup is The Northman, which was like 12 or 13 in the voting.
Mhm.
So it got a lot of love too. I don't know. For me, it's the Batman. RRR is probably like close. I love Prey. So. This is a tough category, guys. I'm going to defer to you
Mhm.
guys. What do you, JD? You want to go first? What do you think when you look at this?
Yeah.
What's your favorite action film here?
Okay, so let me emphasize that these are 5 really good films. 2 of these are in my personal top 10. My favorite, though, of the bunch is Top Gun Maverick, partially because I do love that first film quite a bit, and not always for its action. I think that film is actually a fascinating commentary on bravado. I think it's doing some really subversive things in that regard. And because of Maverick, what we learn about him in that film, because the one thing about that movie that isn't talked about enough is that Maverick is this character defined by death. His
Hmm.
parents,
Mhm.
what we see with Goose, obviously, and that carries over into this film. And so every decision that he makes is circles to the death that's around him all the time. And obviously that leads to this rift with Rooster. And so the film has this incredible emotional underbelly that I think is so invigorating. I kept calling this movie uh, Manchester by the Sea in the Sky because that's ultimately what it is in a lot of ways. It's
Hmm.
Maverick going through the same trajectory that Lee does, and Manchester
Mhm.
by the Sea, he can't let go. And I just love how the film utilizes that. And then there's all the action that comes within the practicality of it. So I'm maybe a little bit biased toward Top Gun Maverick. That is my favorite, but The Northman is also my top 10. RRR is quite great. The Batman, very good. So yeah, I mean, there's
I
a
just
lot to
wanted to.
love here.
I just want to throw this up for we have a lot of people watching in the Facebook group, and StreamYard does this thing where you have to give permissions. So there you go, guys. Just go to streamyard.com/Facebook, and it'll ask if it's okay to post your profile picture and your name. And I think it's in the title or in the topic of the post as well. So if you guys are on Facebook, feel free to do that, and that way I can know who I'm chatting to. Because somebody was hurt that I called them Facebook user, but it doesn't show me names unless you're on YouTube.
Mhm.
So
Hmm.
that's how you would do that. So best action, Nicole. What about you? What do you think about this category?
Yeah, I love how varied this lineup is here. I
Mhm.
think there are some years that whenever you put together, you know, a best action category like this for the Golden Peas, that you get a lot of just like Marvel films and DC films and all of
Sure.
that. And
Yeah.
not that's not to say
Mhm.
that they're not good and deserving, but I think it's so fun that we only have one like comic book movie here.
Hmm.
And the
Mhm.
Batman is such a deserving one. It's one of my
Mhm.
favorite movies of the year. I also love seeing something like Prey make it in here. Love seeing a foreign film in this category.
Yeah.
And oh my god,
Hmm.
welcome,
Yep.
Lindsay.
Yeah. I
And
wanted to let her know it worked. There you go.
and I also am so excited, like as a historian, to see the Northman in this category because
Yeah.
I really think that that's such an overlooked film from this year in many ways,
Yeah.
partially
I
because of when
agree.
it came out and the
Mhm.
action in it is, you know, unique compared to the action in the other movies.
Sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
Similar to, you know, Top Gun, which also has unique action compared to the rest of these movies.
Hmm.
And I'm really excited to, you know, see all of these movies here. it's so hard for me to even pick a favorite because I'm like, I see really great arguments for all 5. I do think
Mhm.
that Top Gun Maverick is so impressive because they were so dedicated to doing as much, practically as they could, and actually getting guys up in the planes and stuff, which is
Yeah.
amazing. And I
Yeah.
am one of those people that thinks that Top Gun Maverick is better than the original Top Gun, and I love to see a sequel that can pull that off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think if my personal vote is probably going to the Batman.
Okay.
Look what
But
look
I
what
really
Kenzie's
okay. You know what?
Kenzie's calling you out though.
Let me listen to my co-editor Kenzie over at Oscar Central. I'll say the Northman. Although,
Oh
really,
man.
I can't believe Kenzie's arguing against me picking an R-Pats movie. But
Yeah,
but
right.
that's the thing is that like I truly think that anything could win this category, and I'll be like,
Mm.
wow, great winner.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
Well, the Northman. I mean, Robert Eggers just makes a different kind of movie, guys. Like and just oh man, I mean, he just really goes in. Whether you're talking about the dialect that's being used, I mean, it's on another
Mhm.
level. So it's such
Yeah.
my pick here. I think it's probably Prey. Honestly, I mean,
Nice.
Prey. I just enjoyed it so much.
Yeah.
Michael, patron and friend of mine, says the Batman is meh. So he was not a huge fan of the Batman, I guess, which is surprising. Let's bring JD back in here. I
Yeah.
think he got knocked out there.
Oh,
You good,
okay.
buddy?
Yeah. Back. Yeah, not sure what happened, but I'm here.
Michael said the Batman is meh, and you just left. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, I can't handle that.
I'm
sorry.
out.
Okay, let's see. Let's do something fun here. Let's look at best animated.
Mm.
JD, you have kids, right? You have
I do have
children.
one kid. Yeah, one on the way.
One kid, one on the way, and one kid. Nicole, not quite yet,
No.
but I assume you love animated films. What do you think of this lineup? I think Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is kind of obvious, but honestly, it's kind of a toss-up otherwise. What do you think of what made it here?
Yeah, I hate to sound like every other awards body out there, but this for me is easily Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. It's one of my very favorite films of the year. And I just love how it takes, material that we're familiar with and reinvents it in a way. It's certainly a lot different than Disney's iteration of it. Not even going to bring up the other 2022 version of Pinocchio. Oh my God. We'll pretend that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy.
It's just, of course I love the emotion of it, but the animation is stunning. The character work, the vocal work in it is quite great. But I will say this, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On was also in my top 20 of the year. I do really love that film quite a bit. I don't that's not a distant number 2. That one's pretty close for me. Minions: The Rise of Gru is fine, I guess. I did go to the theater with my son to see that, and he loved it for what it's worth.
My daughter's she's 21, by the way, so this is going to be weirder knowing that she's 21, but she calls it a 10 out of 10 masterpiece of cinema.
Okay, there you go.
It's The Rise of Gru.
There you go.
She loved that movie so much.
Yeah, Turning Red though, I did like. That
Yeah.
was a different movie for Pixar, and yeah, that was really good too.
Yeah, Wendell and Wild and Marcel are probably my 2 like personal favorites, but I don't think anybody
Okay.
can beat Del Toro. I just don't think.
Yeah.
I think Pinocchio's
think
got it
this
probably
is-
across the
Yeah,
board.
Pinocchio's to lose. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
I like seeing that there's a lot of like different types of animation represented in this category. Obviously with like stop motion and more traditional animation and more computer driven animation. I see a lot of people in the comments, are talking about Puss in Boots, and it
Puss in
definitely
Boots,
seems like maybe it was it came out too late
Yep.
to get
It-
nominated.
that-
but
Probably.
Thank you,
yeah.
Nicole. Yep.
but it
Yeah.
is a
So
masterpiece.
it is. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard it's stellar. But
Yeah,
these
I like
preliminary ballots came out in October, and that movie just came out like
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. So I think
Mhm.
that might be suffering a little bit from like the
Yeah.
Avatar not having any mentions and stuff like that. People just didn't go back and do the
I,
ballot after
um,
they saw it. So
But
And-
I'm so happy to see that Turning Red made it into here, just because
Yeah.
I think that movie is so beautiful and so important, and
Mhm.
I still am so mad at Disney for the way that they released it.
Fair.
But
Yeah.
it's fine. Bob Iger's back. We're in good hands again. But I'm happy to see that it is getting recognized in some places. I also recommend if anyone watched it and was maybe like a little bit, lower on it, there's a documentary on Disney Plus about the making of it that made me love it like twice as much.
Mm, okay.
Oh, wow,
And
okay.
I also I will say my favorite animated movie of the year didn't make the lineup, so I have to plug it, which is My Father's Dragon, which is on Netflix.
Yeah,
It's
that was good too. Yeah,
gorgeously
really.
animated film. I really like more like traditional hand-drawn-y animation.
Mhm.
And
Sure.
it's got Jacob Tremblay and Gaten Matarazzo voicing characters in it. So I'm
Yeah.
always like, people watch it, it has Jacob Tremblay in it.
Yeah, I will
I'll let
always take the
everyone,
opportunity to plug Cartoon Saloon. They don't.
Exactly. I mean, Cartoon
Yeah.
Saloon is just everything.
Yeah.
So
And I
Without a
also
doubt.
just want to echo one more time too, because it was such a great year for stop motion animation. I love
yeah.
that form. Particularly is still has a stronghold. I mean, 3 of them are nominated here, but there was also the
Yeah.
film Mad God that came out earlier in the year as
Mm.
well. So we got a lot
Great
of stop
mention.
motion this year, and I just love that hasn't gone away. And it because it feels like
Yeah.
maybe we're heading in that direction, but we have filmmakers still clinging on to it, and it's always
Yeah.
great. I love stop motion. So
Such an
I
inventive
also
medium for sure.
yeah.
I'm really loving people in the comments talking about, Sea Beast
hmm
and Bad Guys, and it's so fun to see a year where we have so many great animated films and
Mhm.
animated films from different studios, and that just always makes me super excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of great options here. To keep it fun, we'll move over to best
Mhm.
comedy. And look at these here. Guys, I have a love affair with Cha Cha Real Smooth. That is one of my
Mm,
favorite movies of the year. It's
Yeah.
probably going to make my top 10 of the year.
Okay.
nice.
It was so endearing. It was so charming. I love Cooper Raiff's style of filmmaking and just kind of this like lovable kind of just like fumbling through life thing that he's got going on.
Mhm.
And I mean, Dakota Johnson is one of my crushes. I absolutely love her and everything.
Mhm. Mhm.
So the two of them
She's so
together,
good in it.
yeah, I was just
Yeah.
a big fan of that movie. I know that Glass Onion has a huge following. Nick Cage, you can never count him out. What do you guys think of this category? Triangle Sadness is an interesting film, and I'm not surprised it made it because of film Twitter here. But what do you guys think, Nicole? When you look at these, anything kind of stand out to you here?
Yeah, personally, I am so excited to see that The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent made it in here. I genuinely don't think I've ever laughed as hard in a theater as I did, particularly like at the scene where they're trying to climb the wall.
hmm
I love Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal as a duo, and I
So
think
funny.
that
Yeah.
the idea for the film is so interesting and
Yeah.
original.
Mhm.
And like I love the whole meta aspect of Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage.
Right. Right.
Um,
Mhm. Yeah.
and Jon Snow can return to the wall. Just kidding. But
That's my friend
I
Julio.
no, truly though, I also loved Glass Onion. I am such a huge fan of the Benoit Blanc cinematic universe, the most important of all
Yeah.
cinematic universes. And I think that it's so funny, and Ryan Johnson does such smart humor without it ever seeming like it's trying too hard to be intellectual.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I will admit I still need to see Triangle of Sadness because I got a little bit scared off by things that I heard about it. And
It's crazy. I mean, the last,
yeah.
it's kind of two movies really, and when you get past that halfway point, it just flips a switch, and it's just like, what am I
Mhm.
watching? Like, it's
Yeah.
crazy. I will say,
Yeah.
Triangle of Sadness it's bleak and it is a dark comedy, like the
Mm.
definition of dark comedy. But some of the performances and some of the situations that will just literally leave you speechless, it's worth seeing because, like, it's one of those movies I watch. I don't know, JD, if you agree with me. It's one of those movies I watch where I'm like, I can't believe they let the filmmaker do this. Like,
Yeah.
Well,
they
well,
actually let him make this for us. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. That's just so off the
yeah.
wall. JD, what do you
Well,
think of this category or that movie in particular?
well, I get to speak to Triangle of Sadness. If you have seen any of Ruben Östlund's films, I think you kind of know what you're walking into.
Sure. Yeah.
It's very Ruben Östlund. I mean, the whole middle sequence is akin to Nicole. Did you see The Square when that came out a few years ago?
No, I didn't.
You didn't see that one? Okay, so
Yeah.
that one won the grand prize at Cannes that
Mhm.
same year as
Mm.
well. And there's a sequence in that film. I'll just call it the dinner sequence. If you've seen the film, you
Okay.
absolutely know what I'm talking about.
Right.
It's absolutely insane. And that is like the tone of that sequence is like 2/3 of Triangle of Sadness. It is absolutely insane. And that's, it's funny to me when you say that it is the definition of a dark comedy. And by the end, it is. But through half the film, I don't think it's that really at all. It kind of has this incredible transition when we veer toward the third act, and it just becomes a completely different movie. I mean, it is distinctly 3 acts. It's more of a series of vignettes than it is like a traditional narrative. And Austin doesn't hold back in his commentary. It's not really a subtle movie by any stretch of the imagination. But it is, and like, I think it's a better movie if you look at it as 3 individual films, like short films kind of stitched together. I think it works better that way than as a whole.
Okay.
But that's the thing with Ruben Östlund, though. You're always going to get that kind of structure in his films, at least of those that I've seen. They typically follow that same format. So I liked it. I didn't love it. My favorite of these is Glass Onion, probably because of the Rian Johnson factor, but the cast is really quite excellent there as well. I'm with you, though, on Cha Cha Real Smooth. I think that was one of the better overlooked movies of the year.
I love it.
It comes out at Sundance. I think that's where I saw it. And
Yeah,
then
same.
it drops on Apple midway through the year, and I don't think anyone noticed. Like, it just kind of came and went. There wasn't much discourse on it, which was
I feel like when it premiered at Sundance, which I didn't get to see it at Sundance. I did see it on Apple when it came, but I feel like when it premiered at Sundance, it was the first movie of 2022 that I was like, I couldn't wait to see it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I remember people at Sundance were really praising it. I love Dakota Johnson, like I said. So I was just really, really excited to see it. I love Shithouse, a movie that Cooper Raiff did a few years ago. I just love his style. So I was really pumped. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like Cha Cha could have been one of those kind of like drama / romantic comedy things that could have maybe been in the Oscars discussion if it had come out a little bit later in the year.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of a hip young filmmaker, I feel like.
Yeah, and I remember there was so much buzz around it at Sundance that actually it was one that I wasn't like attending as press. I was just buying some tickets, and luckily some opened up for like a later showing of it, and I saw it because everyone was talking about it. And then it does kind of feel like the buzz just wasn't sustained over the rest of the year. But I really do like the movie. I will say, though, I remember crying in it a lot more than laughing. So
it's emotional
maybe
ride.
that's
For
because
sure.
I'm like in my 20s, but
fair.
I do like it getting recognized here. And to speak to some of the comments,
so some people were mentioning the menu, that
the menu would be great here. I also think I know that there's been like a lot of discussion on film Twitter recently about if Banshees of Inisherin is a comedy. I definitely would put it as a comedy. Maybe that's because I'm super familiar with McDonagh's theater work, which is all very like Black comedy based, and it's very similar to that. But that's the other thing I would like add into this category that isn't here. But I mean, Lindsay, I hear you, but also one of my biggest laughs in a theater all year was when Brendan Gleeson's character is like, I just don't like you no more.
You liked me yesterday. It's
funny.
great.
Yeah,
it's so good. Okay, let's move to the next category. Let's see. I think we need to talk about best male, right? So I don't know how many times my wife's going to vote for Austin Butler, but he might win based on her votes alone.
I'll help her.
But I was going to say I will too, because I loved him in that movie. I'm a huge Elvis fan, which didn't hurt. But I don't know. Ke Huy Quan's sweeping guys, maybe the Golden Peas as well. Tom Cruise, obviously a Hollywood icon. Daniel Kaluuya and Nope got a lot of love in the preliminary ballots. I don't really know what to think here. I think it's probably Kwan or Butler, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I also could see film Twitter coming out for Tom Cruise. Like, I feel like, I mean, I love all of these nominations. I think that this is a great lineup. I love to see Daniel Kaluuya get, mentioned here. My
wife's already casting votes. That's her.
Yep. I love to see Colin Farrell get in here because I think he's had such a great year with like 4 movies coming out. And I love, to see, obviously, Everything Everywhere All at Once, like we've said, is such a phenomenon, and I love a comeback story. I don't love a Scientologist, But my vote definitely would go to Austin Butler just because it's such a transformative performance. It feels like such a lightning in a bottle moment. And also, I love that he did so much of the singing himself and
Right.
really took so much time to immerse himself in Elvis's world
I
and
mean, the dude became
clearly,
Elvis. I
yeah,
mean,
clearly became so close to the family. And I mean, like maybe he needs an exorcism to remove Elvis from him now, but
right.
uh I really would love to see how much work he clearly put into this role recognized. And also, it is so crazy to see someone be able to capture Elvis's charisma because we
Yeah.
all know that's part of why Elvis became popular. And I think that Austin Butler does such a great job with that. And
Yeah.
I'm with your wife on this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Austin's got my vote.
I think Butler is, I don't know, he's, his speech at the Globes was great too, which is only going to help
Yeah.
him. But he's just so young, like he hasn't done anything. That's what kind of worries me a little bit.
See, I remember when he was on Disney Channel and on
No,
the
I mean
Carrie
like,
Diaries, and
like
it's
sure,
so
yeah.
funny because I've been aware of him for so long, and I was like, that's
Yeah.
not Austin Butler. But I think he's about to have a real moment with Dune too. Like he is. I know everyone's talking about him because he is sort of newer to the scene, but he's not as young as I think a lot of people think he is. This isn't like a Timothy Chalamet type of situation.
Sure.
Yeah.
What do you think, JD? What do you like when you look at this group here?
Well, I have two distinct thoughts when it comes to this category, because when it comes to voting, I think this comes down to Austin Butler and Ke Huy Quan for the reasons you guys are talking about. And, separating out lead and supporting, my vote for best supporting actor is Ke Huy Quan for Everything Everywhere at Once. I mean, just a phenomenal performance. There certainly is the narrative angle of it. And how can you not love when he's talking in public? Every speech he gives right now, everyone is on the floor in tears. It is amazing. Everything that comes out of that man's mouth.
Such a good story.
And Austin Butler gives an electric performance. I do understand the gravity of it and why people are alert to his performance there. I think Colin Farrell, though, gave the best performance of his career in After Yang back in April. And then he comes out with The Banshees of Inisherin, and my first thought was, maybe I lied earlier in the year. Maybe it's this one. Either way, I think he gives two of his very best performances in 2022. Then he's in The Batman, and he's really great there as well. He's the best thing about the Ron Howard movie.
13 Lives. Yeah, I mean, the guy's hand over fist, just killing it,
Just absolutely slaying one performance after another. So, maybe it's unfair to couple all of them together to say that he just had the best year of any actor in 2022. And so that's where my vote is. But genuinely, I think he gave the best performance in After Yang, and then he follows that up with The Banshees of Inisherin. I was floored by both of those performances. And so that's my personal vote.
After Yang is getting a lot of love over in the chat too, for sure. I just want to remind everybody. I'm sorry, JD. I just want to remind everybody that's in the Facebook group to go to that link right there, StreamYard.com/Facebook, and give StreamYard permissions so that I can see who we're chatting with there. Just a reminder, if anybody's joined over in the Facebook group, we have a lot of people watching over there. Thank you so much.
Unless you want to maintain your anonymity.
I know. After Yang getting a lot of love over there too. But Colin Farrell, what I did, and since you guys kind of mentioned it a little bit in the performances category, in previous years I did supporting and I did lead. This year, to make it a little easier, because I took a hiatus last year, so it was just written format. It wasn't like a podcast or video or anything. I just did it online. So I said, to kind of ease back into it and make it a little easier on myself, I'm just going to do just best performance. So there are supporting roles grouped in here with lead roles. And that was by design. Just any male performer that got mentioned, if they were in the top 5, they made the cut. And the same thing would be said here for female, because you could look at Claire Foy perhaps, and you could say that was a supporting role there.
Yeah.
Although I don't think anybody really knows who the lead in Women Talking is. I think they all are.
Yeah.
But an argument can be made that she was supporting there. So the
Frances
last
McDormand is the lead.
Sure. Yeah. So let's see. One category here. Kenzie says Mia Goth, and I haven't agreed with anything more in quite a while. She just says Mia Goth, all caps. So best
There you go.
horror movie. This is what we got. Now, this is my favorite genre of film. You guys probably see behind me, and you guys that know me know that. But I love all 5 of these so much. I was so excited that these were the 5 that made it in for the nominees here. JD, did you see all of these movies? What stands out to you here for best horror film?
Did see all of these movies, and my favorite of them, actually, I take that back. I did not see Terrifier 2. And
Okay.
just looking at the poster scares the hell out of me. So I don't know if
Yeah.
I'll see that movie.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I did see the other 4, and my favorite of these by far is X. I just love the craft of it, the performances. There's something about what Ty West does with that film from and not just a craft perspective, but from a storytelling perspective. We mentioned earlier the way it builds. There's like this subtle momentum that he builds that leads to this crescendo that has a catharsis, but it's not a loud one. Like that subtlety kind of still is maintained there all the way through, that I love. And you know, and even more so in Pearl, really. But yeah, X is probably my favorite of these.
Well, Dan says keep it that way as far as not seeing Terrifier, but he also says this. He also says anything in the X movie universe being nominated is a crime, but I don't agree with that. He's not a fan of Ty West's films. Our friend Kenzie says X Supremacy, so there you go. She's also getting a kick out of Terrifier 2, getting a mention. I think the horror fanatics latched on to Terrifier 2 because the ballad came out right when that movie came out, and it got a literal ton of mentions in that first couple weeks.
Maybe some recency bias.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but it's definitely a horror fanatics kind of like it's just the thing that we salivate over, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. Let's go back. I think we covered all the categories. Let's just look one more time. I'll have to go back here. So there's what made the top 10 for the best movie of the year. Now, one thing I want to let everybody know, first of all, I want to give a huge thanks to Nicole and to JD for being here. That was a great discussion. Hopefully you guys vote. As soon as we hang up this call, I'm going to make it live over on the website. And you just go to 2peasonapod.com/goldenpeas, and you'll be able to cast your ballot there. I'll also share it on social media for everyone to have easy access to that as well. And guys, y'all are the best. This is the first time I did it on YouTube. I feel like it was successful. So
yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to go vote.
Same, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be live soon. Let me the award ceremony is going to be March 13th at 9:30 p.m. Me and my buddy Brian Loishaus. He joined me every year before I took my hiatus, and it was always in a podcast format. But this is the first year I'm going to make him be on camera, which he's a good-looking dude, so he has no problems there. But we will give you the winners on the 13th of March, which you guys will probably notice is strategically the day after the Academy Awards. So if you have any hangover of what maybe missed at the Academy Awards, you can come over and watch the Golden Peas and maybe get your happiness level brought back up a little bit.
There you go.
All right. But the voting will be open tonight, and it will go on through February 13th, and then I will tally them up, and the winners are the winners, and we will announce them on March 13th. Nicole Ackman from Oscar Central. I'm a big fan, and I just found out you're local, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But I love everything you do online. Just tell everyone watching real quick where they can find you and Kenzie and everything you're doing at Awards Watch.
Yeah. So you can find me over on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Nicole Ackman 16. You can find my work at Awards Watch, and I've got a link tree everywhere on my social media to find, all of my stuff. And then over at Oscar Central, we're also doing our own awards, our very first awards. And I learned firsthand that tallying things by hand takes a lot of time. But we actually
you guys
just
have
released
like 35 categories or something like that.
Yeah, I went a little crazy on the categories.
Yeah.
I think Kenzie was ready to kill me after she made all the graphics for them.
man.
But definitely go check those out because we've got like 1,000 categories, including best animal performance. And including, I will note, best, I think, what is it, actor who showed the most range this year, which is where I think we need to recognize Colin Farrell. But yeah, so you can find that at oscarscentral.com and Oscars, I think, _central on socials.
All right, JD, what about you, man? In session film. If they start listening now, they could finish the top 10 movies of 2022 by
They'll
the time
finish
the
it by
P's air.
March. Yeah.
Yeah.
by the time you release the winners
No,
in March.
you guys do great stuff. I'm a huge
Yeah.
fan, always have been. Tell them where they can find you and what you're doing over there, man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you can find everything we do at insessionfilm.com. We just did our 10th annual In Session Film Awards. It's hard to believe that we've been doing it that long, but yeah, we split ours into 2 parts. I think next year it might be split into 15 parts based off of how things have progressed. But in part 1 is kind of your formal categories where we talk about best actor and best actress and all that sort of fun jazz. We have some unique categories similar to what Nicole was just talking about, such as best overlooked movie, best surprise performance of the year, things of that nature. And then part 2 is our top 10 movies of the year. There's 4 of us talking through all these categories of movies, and we just don't know how to stop talking. So it is long, but it's a lot of fun. Urge everyone to go and check that out. We also have written content over at insessionfilm.com as well. And you'll see links to follow us on social media and all that sort of fun stuff over there. Again, insessionfilm.com. And thanks for having me, man. This was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. You guys are both awesome. I'm going to end the broadcast. I got to be honest with you. I don't know if it's going to hang up on you guys. So if it doesn't, I'll catch up with you in a second. Everybody watching, thank you so much. This will obviously be available on YouTube forever unless I delete it. So hopefully you can go back and watch it and see all the nominees. And just a reminder, the awards ceremony and the winners will be announced on Monday, March 13th with me and my friend Brian Loysauce. All right, guys. Thank you. Nicole, JD, hopefully you stay here.